Hello and welcome to Modern Art is Rubbish, episode number 26. You alright, Tom?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, Marcus.
Well, we're on part 3 of our Dada special, the final part.
Thank God for that.
Yeah, I think as we will be talking about later on, I think people got quite tired of Dada towards the end as well.
Back in the day you're talking about?
Yeah,
not
back
like,
in the day,
not like in us recording.
Yeah, but although having said that, this is obviously going to be a very up to our usual entertaining standards. So today we're going to be looking at US Dada and investigating as to whether Duchamp actually did create his work Fountain.
US Dada?
Yeah.
United States of Dada?
Yeah. I want to go there. That would be fantastic. And
I don't know what it is, the United States of Dada.
Yeah, but it sounds great, doesn't it? Yeah.
It does sound good.
Yeah. And also we'll be talking about a useless clothes iron that got stolen, and also the punch-up that ended Dada in Paris. But before all this, I just want to talk about a sad death passing of Keith Flint from The Prodigy.
Oh yeah. Oh well, that was He's spanned our like respective childhoods in Essex. Yes. He was a bit of a hero.
Yeah, where we're from originally. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just, but I think he was particularly, if you look at the way he performs and the shocking kind of performances he did, and these kind of like absurd, bizarre performances, there's definitely was a Dada influence in his work.
Yeah, whether direct or not, I suppose.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it was obviously we can't ask him whether he knows about Dada.
Oh, no, we can't.
Yeah.
Not unless we hold a Dada seance.
Yeah, that's quite a good idea. I like that idea. Yeah. Dada seance. We'll talk to Keith.
Yeah, I'm sure. Hopefully, he's stirring things up wherever he is.
Yeah.
So, I was thinking about. I always like to open with my Dada story that I've experienced, and I did a piece once, which was you can't always get what you want, and I was really bored. You must have got sick about not having customer service, how bad customer service is these days, or going back a while. This actually was about 10 years ago.
Oh, yeah, well, I know the feeling of customer service being annoying.
Yeah, I think that, they don't treat you like human beings, they don't give you respect, the whole thing.
You're waiting around a long time.
Yeah.
You can't sort your problem out, whatever it is.
Well, I actively got so sick of it, I thought I wanted someone to actually give me good customer service.
You called the Dada helpline?
Yeah, well, as good as I called a fetish phone sex line, because I thought, well, if someone's going to say what I want, I thought I'd do that. So I rang up this number, and someone answered. This woman answered. She said, hello, and I said, I want some good customer service. And she says, is that what you like? Is that what you like? Do you like a bit of good customer service? Yeah. I said, yeah, I do. What I want to do, I want to walk into a shop. You own a shop. She said, oh, is that what you like? You owning a shop? I said, yeah, you're the shop owner, and I'm going to walk in with a vase, right? Oh, is that? Yeah, so you're walking with a vase. And
was she just repeating what you said?
There was kind of a lot of that going on, actually, because I think she was a bit...
That's like mirroring, isn't it?
Yeah.
They use that in care work.
Yeah. Well, I think she probably thought she had a real case on. She's probably used to like quite nasty talk, and there's me coming on, ringing up saying I want customer service. So anyway, I said to her, look, I'm walking into a shop, and I've got a vase here, and it's clear that this vase that I'm seeking to return has been damaged by me, and it wasn't a fault with the vase. And I said, and I want you to give me my money back.
Oh, you kinky boy.
And she, now bearing in mind, they probably would be paid about, probably about 60p a minute. So they're probably she's probably earning about 25p a minute for pence a minute.
Probably not 10p, I reckon.
Yeah, 10p, but still still reasonably well paid for the thing. She hung up on me before she'd even taken the the vase back.
That's just typical customer service, isn't it?
That was my sort of Dada art piece.
Wow. So, in why is that a Dada piece?
Because it's absurd.
Yeah.
It's questioning the cultural norms. It's challenging the cultural norms.
What, of like getting your money back for an item you broke?
Yeah. and I felt it was quite shocking. It was clearly quite shocking to someone who would have been used to more extreme XXX kind of talk. I think she was quite shocked by it.
Yeah, but we don't ring like premium phone numbers to get it normally.
Yeah.
Actually, I say that's rubbish what I just said.
Yeah, take it back. They do. Have you ever tried ringing helplines? Yeah, they don't charge. On to US Dada. So, as we said, Dada spread to many countries throughout the world. In fact, it actually even went as far as places like Japan, Eastern Europe, Prague. There was reported cases of Dada. So, at the time, it was the
You make it sound like a sort of unusual infection or virus.
Yeah. You picked up Dada. How's your Dada going, Tom?
Yeah, I got bitten by a mosquito in Japan, and I've come out with this this crazy artwork on my face.
US Dada was less political, but still, iconoclastic. So it was still attacking cherished beliefs, the idea about galleries and what could be art. There were several figures which are actually too numerous to mention, but the Dada movement actually revolved in New York around a central figure called Alfred Stieglitz, who was actually a photographer and an art promoter, famous for taking the picture of the Duchamp urinal. He actually took that as well.
He took the photograph of it. Okay.
So what I'm picking today for us to enjoy and for you to enjoy at home is I've picked a few of the artworks that featured in American Dada. Now the thing is the Dada movement in America tended to feature actual artworks rather than performances, although there were performances, but it's mostly actual pieces of work. First up is an artist called Francis Picabia. He was a cubist and he also did some Dada works. He moved to New York from his native France. So we're looking around about 1915, 1916. As I say,
good time to get out of France.
Yeah. So almost before some of the things that happened in the Cabaret Voltaire. So,
absolutely.
Now,
mind you, it would have taken him a long time to get to the States because it would have been by ship, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah. Francis Picabia produced several works called mechanomorphic. It's produced several works and they were called mechanomorphic. They're sort of drawings of what look like designs for machines. And these machines actually related to the human condition. So you can imagine if you're presented with drawings of machines that are related to humans, I think it probably would have been quite shocking that an artist represent humans as almost as soulless machines.
Yeah, it doesn't seem that shocking to me, I guess. No. But I mean, maybe at the time, would people actually be shocked by that idea?
I think they may have been more shocked in Europe than they would be in some parts of America.
Like this one, that looks like a sort of arm and leg and then joints of the human skeleton in the middle of this machinery.
They also have quite interesting titles. So I thought in order for us and for people listening to understand more, I thought you could have a guess at the title of each of the pieces, which I've actually had to blank out because he wrote the title on each piece.
Oh, right, yeah.
Right, okay, so the first one
is obviously I Am the Firestarter.
No. So, bearing in mind, we said they're mechanomorphic works, which means they're relating to humans and the human condition. What might that represent?
So I'm guessing from your clues, we're talking about like human body parts or something.
So what are we looking at there? We've got a machine, and it's got two kind of green cylinders in the centre, and there's a piston.
A pipe, yeah.
There's a piston that's going up and down in one of the cylinders. It's
not clear it's going up and down in the image, but it is.
But it would be, I assume, if it was a machine. So does it? His view. Sometimes his works were viewed as erotic as a clue.
Is it the it's something with? Is it the male parts? Something around the male parts?
You're on the right lines, but what is it showing you then?
Oh, what the sexual act?
Yeah. Do you want to know what the title is?
Yeah, go on then.
Yeah, it's Voilà la femme, which is here is the woman. Does that look like a woman to you?
I don't know if it's like
I've never dated a woman that looked like a steam engine.
Well, I can't say the same myself, but I don't. I really don't.
We'll cut that out.
I don't think this is like necessarily so like sexual as you made out.
No,
this is the woman, because it's like a steam train. It's like a working.
So you think
woman.
It's a good one? So you think it's a powerful image of a woman?
It's powerful, yeah.
Oh no, I like that. So
I need to ring the Picabia hotline helpline. Voilà la femme, like reminds me of a piston engine. What can I do? That's what it reminds you of? A piston engine? Yes. It reminds me of a piston. What, it reminds you of a piston engine? Yes. Anyway, that was 45p a minute. So
yeah.
I'm gonna
bang up.
bang up, yeah. Should we go on to the second one?
Yeah, okay. I'm going to give you a clue here, right? Bearing in mind what the last one was, this one we're looking at has more of maybe a carnival atmosphere about it.
Yes, dancing. Earlier on, when you showed me these, only a couple of minutes ago, I was like, oh, it looks like the human body, the skeleton. So I'm looking at these parts that look like pieces of metal with a screw and then another bit of metal. And then the screws are kind of like, remind me of your joints, like your hip and your knee and your elbow.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, and then there's a sort of wheel with it's almost like a bit of machinery that it's all attached to, with a kind of steam engine thing on the other side. So I was like, so it's movement. So it's like body in motion.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I'm thinking.
Oh, like, that's nice. I like the motion bit, right?
Yeah.
So
you're saying carnival
and motion. There, you're right on the right track there.
Oh, am I? Yeah, carnival.
But imagine, don't forget human condition.
That is definitely.
Well, okay. You want to know what the answer is. It's called Parade Amoureux, which is actually love parade. Does it look like a love parade to you? If you were imagining a love parade where everyone is happy and love and singing Beatles, all you need is love.
Mm. Or like some sort of pride festival.
Yeah. Would it? Does that picture represent it to you? I think
if there was a policeman's hat on it, and maybe like a little flag, waving a pink flag or whatever.
Yeah.
Or like the what is the pride flag called with all the colours?
Oh, the rainbow. Yeah.
Yeah, the rainbow
bit
flag.
More rainbow thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Then it's a love parade. But yeah, I guess maybe love parades back in, when was this? 1915.
This one was 1917.
1917. Yeah. So maybe love parades at that time were a bit more
somber.
Mechanical.
More mechanical, more somber.
Yeah, but it does have a drink up here that looks like maybe there is a bit of alcohol, possibly. This was before Prohibition, wasn't it? Yeah. Now, I'd just like to end with a random fact. This is quite mechanical, as we've discussed. This was during the war. There was actually a little story apparently he relayed, which was that he sent one of his paintings from America back to France. It was confiscated and sent for investigation at the Ministry of Inventions. So I guess it's come from a foreign land. It's got an image of machinery. Yeah. And they wanted to check it out. It's during the war, It's during the war, yeah. And this is obviously before we were in such close contact with each other across seas or whatever. Do you think they build it and then they realise they've constructed a love parade? What a thing to build. I guess that's what they... A century ago, what they maybe suspected it was early...
large hadron collider, or maybe a small hadron collider.
Yeah. Another artist that we have to mention, and we will mention a bit more in the, coming up, is Marcel Duchamp. He was already quite a celebrity when he moved to New York in 1915, and we talked about this actually in the first episode. So what I've chosen is another ready-made he made, obviously famously making the toilet, the urinal, called Fountain, and it's called In Advance of a Broken Arm. And what it is a snow shovel that he presented in a gallery. Now, it's quite a jokey title, but I've thought about this. In Advance of a Broken Arm. Why would that title relate to a shovel? That's my question.
Because when you're shoveling,
yeah,
your arm hurts quite. Like, so I've done a lot of shoveling the last few months.
Tell me your shoveling anecdotes.
I have like pain in my arm, my elbow, both sides.
Yeah.
So I reckon it could be to that, or because it's got a metal bit on the end, it could be a weapon. So you've got two options for arm injuries, broken arms with this shovel. So you can either be shoveling snow, or you could be getting hit by an angry customer service agent.
We're going back to that. I mean, okay, so we will be coming back to Duchamp later on. Right, so the next artist I want to talk about is a very important artist, and her name is Elsa von Freytag Loringhoven.
Where's she from?
And she's a German artist, and she's considered to be the first artist to have created the first art trouvé, which is first found art object, what Duchamp later referred to as a ready-made.
So she predated Duchamp. Is this the lady who's a friend of Duchamp's?
Yes, she's an acquaintance. So what I've read, she wasn't a great friend, but she was in the Dada circle, so she was within the circle.
So she'd get invites to big birthdays of Duchamp, but maybe she'd get invited to his 50th, but not his 51st.
Yeah. Yeah, so she was born in Germany in 1874, and she moved to America in 1910, and she produced collage, performance, assemblage, and she did poetry. Assemblage is just getting old found objects and things she found around and making them into...
She's totally Dada by the sound of it.
Yeah, totally.
So she's got collages, poetry.
Yeah, I mean, she's a main Dada figure, and she was a highly individual and expressive person. I mean, she'd create quite a striking figure. Sometimes she would shave her head and dye it in various hues. She would accessorise with things like a pack of dogs.
A pack of dogs?
Yeah.
An actual pack of dogs? Yeah,
actually go out like with a load of dogs as a sort of like an accessory, like or even live birds. She even had, one of her costumes was sort of like a soup can bra.
All right, so this is preempting...
Madonna.
Oh, no, I was thinking of, what's his name, Andy Warhol.
Oh, yes. The first ever recorded found object was called Enduring Ornament, and it was in 1913. Now, Duchamp didn't create his first complete ready-made until 1914, although that was in France, which was a bottle rack.
Okay, yeah, so this, the snow shovel...
Yeah,
is actually not his first ready-made.
No.
Yeah, so he previously, before this, he'd done a bottle rack.
Now, this enduring art ornament, which was 1913, basically on the way to her wedding in New York, Elsa found a rusted metal ring. It's just under 4 inches in diameter. If you look at it, it has quite a we will put links to it. If you look at it, it has quite a feminine quality, and it resembles an engagement ring, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, if someone was wearing that as an engagement ring, they must have been huge.
Yeah.
The size of their like wedding finger.
Yeah. I mean, it's certainly not a ring for anyone's finger.
Yeah, the first recorded find of a genuine giant.
Yeah. And she actually gave many of her pieces spiritual or religious names. I mean, this is enduring ornament, and I suppose it has lived on. It's still known today, so it has in its way become an enduring ornament. And another one of his, keeping in the vein of her religious kind of work, well, not keeping in the vein of works that are she gave religious names to, is another famous work of hers called God.
Definitely a religious name.
Yeah. She created this with the artist Morton Livingston Schamberg. He's an American artist. And what it is a piece of plumbing. It looks like something to do with drainage on a plinth. And this was actually created in 1917, which was the same year as Marcel Duchamp created his urinal piece.
So is this again a ready-made?
Yes.
Like a found object, yeah.
But again, the only difference between this and the other ready-mades is this has actually been placed on a plinth.
Yeah, indeed, yeah.
Whereas
it gives it that extra je ne sais quoi.
Is it plumbing or not? So again, interesting enough, it's a bit of plumbing. 1917, the same year as the urinal came out. Perhaps they would be influenced by each other. Tom, I mentioned to you earlier that Elsa von Freytag Loringhoven may have sort of like been influenced by Duchamp with a piece of plumbing ready-made called God.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that perhaps...
I mean, it's very, very fitting with the urinal.
Yes. Well,
now, all these works are. It's almost like it could be one of her pieces, the urinal.
Yes. Now, funny you say that. You know, I mean, Dada did. I mean, there was a lot of like mixing of ideas and within the Dada thing, and it actually has been recently suggested. Funny you say that, because it has actually been recently suggested that she may have been responsible for Marcel Duchamp's fountain work. And to explain this, I just need to give everyone listening a mini recap of the official story about the piece. You can get more detail on it on our first ever episode of Modern Art is Rubbish, which we talked about.
Yeah, so after we made this episode, we had a few people contact us about the work to say, no, actually, this is not Duchamp's.
Yes.
This Elsa von something.
Yeah, Elsa von Freytag Loringhoven. She's also used to be known as the Baroness, so so we can call her the Baroness.
Yeah, so we had a letter and a comment from a friend.
I actually had a few comments.
Yeah, who said that actually the Baroness created the urinal and that Duchamp's just took the credit.
Yes. For those who've listened, I'll just give you the official story about how fountain was created. And in 1917, a urinal was picked up by Marcel Duchamp from the Mott Ironworks. He took it home and he signed it R. Mutt and entered it anonymously into an exhibition at the Society of Independent Artists in New York. It was an exhibition that stated that any work will be accepted, and basically they refused it, and as a result Marcel Duchamp resigned from the panel of judges. That is the actual background to the story. Right, now I've written this all down, so sorry man.
What, can we have a break?
Yes.
Just get some drink. Let's have a break. I really need a wee.
So Tom, are you quite pro the Baroness?
I'm a Remainer.
What's that in terms of?
Oh right. Okay, so I've got my notes of the Baroness.
Yeah. So you're prepared to be judge, Tom, as well.
I'm all right.
You've got to be judge, an impartial judge, and you need to be the case for the Baroness.
Okay, so I need a separate voice, don't I, for the impartial judge?
I'd like to hear all your arguments.
Okay. That's quite...
Please, I want to hear arguments from Duchamps. Those who think Duchamps, let's hear your arguments now, please.
Maybe just do your voice and just say I'm a judge. Okay. All right, Tom. Should we do it? Are we in a pub?
Oh, we're in a pub, yeah.
Pub judge. All right, Tom.
Hey, Marcus.
Are you all right?
Yeah.
You looking a bit concerned? You look a bit peed off, actually.
Oh, it's this Brexit.
Oh, no. Apart from that, is there any art stuff that you're upset about?
Oh, art stuff. Yeah, well, the Baroness, I do believe, that created the urinal, known as fountain,
Yeah.
often credited to Duchamps, but I do have some evidence here that might suggest that the Baroness may have created this
Okay,
work.
yeah. So what's the first bit of evidence you've got then?
The first bit...
Yeah.
Come on, right, get on with it.
Sorry, Judge. The first bit is, well, Duchamp sent a letter to his sister a few days after the urinal was rejected by the society. The letter contained these following words. In Duchamp's voice.
One of my female friends, under a masculine pseudonym, Richard Mutt, sent in a porcelain urinal as a sculpture. It was not at all indecent, no reason for refusing it. The committee has decided to refuse to show this thing. I've handed in my resignation and it'll be a bit of gossip of some value in New York.
Okay.
This letter indicates that he didn't create it at all. It was actually a female friend using a masculine pseudonym that sent in this porcelain urinal sculpture.
Yeah. So, but my point is on that is he's someone who's really well known, and the idea of the fountain was to make it anonymous. And the other point is, and this is something that's not always said, is there's another part to this letter in which he says, tell this detail to the family. The independents have opened here with immense success. So he's actually saying, you know, spread the word and tell everyone that this person, this female friend of mine, did it because he wanted to take the heat off himself.
All right, so there's no indication of any heat on him, though, in the letter.
Well, no.
Okay, the Baroness was living in Philadelphia at the time the urinal was submitted to the competition. It was a competition, wasn't it?
Yeah, the art, yeah.
The submission form suggested that Richard Mutt lived in Philadelphia. So Richard Mutt, who Duchamps mentioned in the letter, was a female friend of his, like a female artist using the masculine pseudonym Richard Mutt.
Right, the thing is that many artists lived in Philadelphia, and it was also thought that a friend of Duchamp, who used to commute a lot to Philadelphia, was in on the prank, so he might have said, I'll just say she's from Philadelphia.
Yeah, but I've visited Washington, D.C. That doesn't make me the president.
What?
There's been no evidence of the urinal being in the Mott Ironworks catalogue. So the Mott Ironworks is where the urinal supposedly came from. Is that right?
Yes. Well, the thing is there is a picture of a urinal that's hanging in Duchamp's studio that looks like it was actually purchased from the Mott Ironworks. So there is at least one in his studio. Also, the catalogue was produced about 4 years before the date of the exhibition. So it's quite possible that the models had been changed and altered anyway.
Well, likely, I suppose.
Right.
Okay, so the Baroness was making ready-mades a year before Duchamps even did. So she had, she did the, what was it she did? Oh yeah, the bit of piping it was as well, bit of plumbing, which she put on a plinth.
Yeah.
And also there was the Giant's engagement ring.
Yes, the Giant's engagement ring, which was made before.
These are all items that could relate quite closely, because they all look like they could be plumbing. Sculpture.
There is a plumbing vibe going on in her work.
With the Baroness.
But Duchamp Although he didn't make a pure ready-made, in 1913 he was taking found objects and combining them. He was taking taking one item and another item, sticking them together.
In 1917, so he had done ready-mades because he did the snow shovel.
Yes.
Okay, the American Alfred Stieglitz said he saw a woman delivering a urinal to the exhibition.
Alfred Stieglitz actually said that he saw a young woman delivering it. And Elsa was actually around about 42, 43, I believe, at the time.
Yeah, but how old was this American Alfred Stieglitz? Was he like 85?
I saw a young lady, she couldn't have been a day older than 50.
But you know how old they looked in sort of like the early turn of the century? Anyone who's 43, they look like they're 90, I think, isn't it?
I don't know if that's true, though, is it?
I'm just making that up.
Has he expressed an opinion on this question of ownership of the Duchamp piece?
Duchamp.
Oh, he says it's Duchamp.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's not really an argument against Duchamp's, is it?
No.
Okay.
Now, the other point to be made here as well is she's an extremely outspoken character, and yet there is no evidence of her ever saying that she created it.
Yeah, so we've got quite like contrary things here. So we've got actually Duchamp's saying it wasn't him and it was a female friend, indicating it could have been he didn't say the Baroness. So we got like him saying it wasn't him in a letter to his sister, but then also the Baroness hasn't taken ownership of it, so it's hard to even have a case for her if she doesn't take ownership. Why would she not take ownership of it? I mean, but in a lot of ways it doesn't really matter, because it's not like they designed the urinal, they just picked it out and put it there as a ready-made.
Yes, exactly. So
the ownership of it is more complicated, isn't it? Because it's ownership of the idea of it being art.
Ja, they're mine.
The Baroness is very important in modern art history, and deserves a place in modern art history, as does Duchamp. And I think that's what my conclusion.
So it's a proper Dada draw, 1-1.
Finally, Tom, we're going to talk about Paris and the end of Dada.
Okay, so is this the punch-up in Paris?
Yeah, although Dada lives on. But I want to give you a flavour of Dada. Now, you've got to imagine Paris it's the 1920s, so Dada's...
Before Euro Disney.
Yeah. Oh, no. Have you been to Euro Disney?
Oh, yeah, I went as a school trip, yeah.
Or was there any Dada experiences?
No, there was quite a few animals walking around, human-sized animals.
Yeah, that's pretty...
Is that Dada?
I suppose. Were you shocked? Did it question your sense of cultural norms? So, you got to imagine Paris. Dada has been around the world, spread to many countries. Paris is now this sort of great artistic, important place. So, Dadaists come from different countries to Paris. So you've got Marcel Duchamp and an American who I didn't mention, who was involved in Dada in the US, Man Ray, and Max Ernst. Max Ernst, who famously attached the axe to his work. He comes to Paris, and Tristan Tzara, the original poet, and the guy who considered himself now the leader of Dada, he's in Paris as well. So it's like the culmination of everything Dada. It's the great Dada
extravaganza.
Yeah, Dada extravaganza, that's right. Still, you've got the same level of absurdness and the same sort of strange things going on. Now, I think what would describe this, kind of like what goes on in Paris Dada, is quite well shown by an exhibition by the American artist Man Ray, who's made photos, films, paintings. He had a show, and it includes paintings and collages. Now, you've got to imagine he's put a show on, but it's the Dada show, of course. What happens is him and the other Dadaists for his show fill the space completely with balloons. So people have to squeeze in to get into the exhibition space because it's completely filled with balloons.
Now, I've been to this in an exhibition before, but this is not his work. I've seen...
Martin Creed.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
he's been mentioned at least a couple of times.
Yeah, he's a little bit of Dada. And we have got an episode of Martin Creed if anyone's interested on the website.
So we discussed his balloons.
Yeah, he did.
That was it was either at the Tate or at
half the air in any given space, I think it was called.
It was
if
in
I remember.
London. It was on the South Bank somewhere.
Yeah. So this is even more crammed because it's
Hayward Gallery.
Yeah, this is literally filled with balloons. So it's not even half the balloons. It's like you cram in to this room, and then with a certain signal, all the Dadaists popped the balloons with their cigarettes. So suddenly, this exhibition is revealed.
Or with their irons.
Yeah. Oh, preempting the most famous one.
Yeah.
Now, remember to act surprised when I tell you about this, Tom. So, the most famous work of Man Ray's, and probably one of the most famous Dada works ever, was called Gift. And it was a clothes iron with 14 tacks glued onto it. So, little tiny like nails, I suppose they are, we call them. And so look,
it's an iron of mass destruction.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want him to do my laundry, not with an iron like that.
Yeah,
it's kind of quite violent, isn't it? It's about domestic, and then it's quite masochistic. So he created it actually on the day of the opening, and someone liked this iron so much. I imagine they weren't short of an iron, but someone actually stole it the same day of the exhibition opened.
Oh right, yeah.
I don't know why. What would you do with that?
Well, you put out some of them balloons, wouldn't you?
I don't know what. I mean, what would you do with it though? What would you? I mean, it's an iron with tacks on it.
Oh right, yeah. I suppose you could leave it on your table. I guess it's a weapon.
Yeah.
It's almost like a weaponized iron, isn't it?
Yeah.
With tacks on the end.
Yeah, it's quite nasty.
Yeah, it could be nasty. Yeah.
I mean, interesting enough, this was actually created with the help of Eric Satie, the composer. He's a famous French composer. Most people will have heard his music because it's used as much on documentaries as Sigur Ros's, I think.
Yeah, so this composer who we heard a bit of piano music from earlier. Are you going to play a bit?
Oh yeah. Right, yeah.
Yeah. So this composer, we just heard a tiny bit of the piano there. He took part in creating this artwork.
Well, no, he was just hanging out with him and his celebrity friends and all that. And
mentioned he wanted his suit ironed and cut at the same time, or
no. It's just that they just saw it and he helped him glue it.
All right,
So,
yeah.
And so that was how it was created.
You have some more drinks in here, please.
So quite a clever idea because in the early 1970s, when Man Ray was older, he released an edition of 5,000 irons, and they sold for $300 each. So that's a pretty good return.
Yeah. So was it 5,000 times 300?
Yeah.
So that's 50, 500. It's 1.5 million, is it?
We've just talked about so there was Man Ray, and there were other artists, of course, as we mentioned, in this mega centre of Dada, which was Paris. For instance, Jean Arp, who we mentioned in the first episode. He read a newspaper whilst an electric bell was going on, so you couldn't hear him at all. So he kind of recreated that common Dada theme of not being able to communicate and talking, and no one's been able to understand you. Another one was a piano piece by Georges Redmond Desagna, and basically it comprised of totally random notes.
So it wasn't scored on a music stage?
No. We've got a grand piano behind you here at Modern Art is Rubbish Central. Can you give us a performance of random notes, and how are you going to do it?
Okay,
Could
so
you do it?
I guess...
How would you do it? How would they do it?
What, random notes?
Well, how?
You would lift your arm in the air and then
Yeah.
you'd push it down towards the piano keys until it hit the keys, lift up again, and then do it again.
Right.
And maybe you turn a bit as you did it to
Okay.
randomise it slightly,
Okay.
or
Yeah.
I don't know. Shall I just
Try.
And you can get that track on Spotify and iTunes.
Apparently, people were upset by this and got quite offended, which is part of the course for any Dada performances.
What, offended by the randomness?
I don't know.
I guess it might have destroyed their whole world if they knew that there was randomness around.
Yeah. Well, that's
I
the
guess
point.
it could be quite bleak and upsetting.
Well, it was. That was very bleak and upsetting your performance, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
So, in Germany, they clubbed Dada, the International Dada Fair. And in France, they had...
Nowadays, we just call that Fardar, wouldn't we?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So cool.
It's so cool.
So cool. They had a Dada festival. They put multicoloured stickers all round Paris to promote this Dada festival, and they even had a press release. And then listen to this. This sounds pretty cool, right? Yeah. And it's announced such things as all Dadaists will have their heads shaved in public. It will feature at this Dada festival pugilism without pain, a Dada magician. Also, as well as this music, they had plays and poems, which you'd expect, and they also promised to reveal Dada sex.
Dada sex?
Yeah, the sex of Dada. So you think you've got this big show, and you think this sounds pretty good, doesn't it? Would you go?
Yeah, I guess doing this podcast about Dadaism, I'd have to go, wouldn't I?
Yeah, if you had a time machine, you'd have to go back. Yeah, and the thing is the problem is you get there. It was a bit of a letdown actually. And I think this is it, because Dada is starting, maybe Dada's starting to lose steam. And it was a bit amateurish. I mean, one of the acts was someone released balloons from a trunk, right? And each had like the names written on it, like the Pope and political figures. And this guy just started attacking them with a dagger. It's a bit aggressive, really, isn't it? It's a bit kind of like...
It's a bit Dada.
Think they announced that they were going to get their head shaved in public,
whilst with some nice real ales.
They all, in the end, well, to what I could find out, they all chickened out.
So they didn't get their head shaved?
No. So that's a letdown as well.
So they chickened out?
Right, and I know you were quite excited to find out about what the sex of Dada was.
Oh, yes, I was, Marcus. Do tell me, what was the sex of Dada?
Oh, no. Yeah, so you were.
Yeah, I was, yeah.
Yeah, you was,
yeah. Please do.
Well, unfortunately, it was just a couple of balloons attached to a phallic-looking column.
So Dada is columnist.
What do you think the audience did? And this time they actually came armed with vegetables.
Oh, they pelted the artists.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, see, that is proper Dada.
Yeah. So the actual audience was more Dada than the Dadas. Yeah. So you can imagine, 1923, a lot of egos involved. People are beginning to tire of Dada, and there are many of the artists in France that were starting to look at other forms of art, especially one that was inspired by dreams in the subconscious, i.e. surrealism. Yeah. And, of course, you've got this big ego of Tristan Tzara, who still says, I am, he considers himself the leader of Dada, And artists were getting tired of each other, and eventually rivalries came to a head at the Theatre Michel in Paris. And this was a show that was being put on, and it's actually the final Dada event, and it was called The Soirée of the Bearded Heart. So you can imagine you got a lot of artists getting upset with Dada, and so an event was organised. It was organised by Tristan Tzara, and it was to be an evening of film, piano music and dancing, and of course, the required Dadaist poem, the required Dadaist poetry. Now, as I just said, is falling out with many of the former Dadaist artists. So what do you think he's going to do? He decides to perform some of their poems without their permission.
Really?
Yeah.
See, if someone did my poem, which is obviously very well loved by me from last time, I would be very upset.
Yeah, it's not the best idea. So, of course, these are strange former Dadaists, after hearing rumours of their works being performed, all turned up. You know, it's all a bit aggressive, as most Dada things are. And also, who was quite angry and fired up was Andre Breton. Now, he's a French poet, and he was loosely involved in the Dada movement as well, but he's also the founders of the Surrealist movement. You know how Dadas get upset about stuff, you know.
When you say Dadas, do you mean like snowflakes?
Yeah. Dadaist. You know how upset people get by things it clearly seems that people get quite upset in the turn of the century. Well, as they do now, actually, as we have said before.
Yeah.
Getting offended. And Andre Breton, upon hearing something referencing Picasso, he said, "That's it, I've had enough." That was the thing that tipped him over the edge.
Well, so he didn't want Picasso mentioned because he didn't.
I have no idea what was said, but I think it was just probably like an innocuous reference to Picasso.
Yeah, it's too mainstream.
Yeah. So Breton leapt on stage and he attacked a performer who was called Pierre de Massot. And he attacked him with his cane, and he actually broke Masso's arm.
Okay, so he broke it with his cane.
Yeah, I think it's the other word, a walking stick.
Walking known,
because cane seems a bit flimsy, doesn't it?
It does,
the modern version of the word cane. So, of course, what happens is the police turn up.
He goes to an old offenders institute.
Yeah. What?
An old offenders institute, as opposed to a young offenders institute.
Oh yeah, because he's got a cane. So the police turn up and they kick Breton off the premises. Revenge was in the air, you know. So revenge was in the air, you know. You can imagine. So someone was clearly up. Some people were clearly upset, like Andre Breton's friends, and a poet who was called Paul Eluard, obviously angered by this, storms in to the theatre where the performances are still going on, and during the performance of a play called The Gas Heart, demands that Sarah comes on stage.
Demands, yeah.
Yeah, as you did, you know.
Yeah.
Don't wait till the end of the play, you just demand in the middle of it.
Yeah.
I suppose it's like going into Cats and demanding to see Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I often do that.
Yeah. And as soon as Sarah goes on stage, Paul Eluard leaps onto the stage and punches him in the face.
Okay, so he's defending the performance.
Yeah, he's upset at his friend being kicked out previously for assault, and this escalates into a small bust-up, which also ruined the set. And of course, you couldn't get something more perfect. This signalled the end of the Dada movement, as it was known. Although, of course, we do know that Dada still lives on in art, music and comedy of today.
And news, I think it's fair to say, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, news. Made up news. And in most politicians in most British politicians, it seems to be, especially Conservatives, but I didn't say that.
Did you say Conservatives?
No, I didn't. other parties with people saying stupid things that are available.
Are they? Are they? Well, there's the DUP we have.
Yeah.
Who are in a coalition with said Conservative Party.
Yeah.
And they're pretty.
They're not Dada.
They're pre-Dada.
Yeah.
They're prehistoric.
Yeah. So Tom, that's it. So ends our Dada trilogy. I hope you listening at home have enjoyed it.
Zoenzar.
Zoenzar. Oh, I like Zoenzar.
Who ends Dada events.
Yeah. So if you listening want to read more, as we've only skimmed the surface as we've
Customer service.
as we've only
You like skimming, do you, sir?
as we've only skimmed the surface. I've put some links up to videos and links to books that you can read if you want to sort of read more about Dada. And also, I will put a link up to a site that did create an interesting investigation to whether Duchamp created a fountain. Just to say, if you like the show, please subscribe. And also, it does cost us to run the podcast. So we do have a Patreon page, which is, Tom?
Patreon.com/Modern Art is Rubbish.
Yeah, and you can join in the conversation with us at Facebook.
Facebook.com/Modern Art is Rubbish.
Great. And also, we do love to hear from you. So please email us at
info@modernartisrubbish.com.
Yeah, and finally, to celebrate a year of the podcast, we want to do a show dedicated to your artwork. So if you get in contact with us at the email address info@modernartisrubbish.com, send in some works, and we will have a special show, and we will be talking about them. And
you know, my local pharmacy here in Hove has a picture board behind the counter where people have just put pictures they've done up, or people's kids, I suppose, customers' kids up there. So it's a suggestion for art scouting. Yeah,
if you've got friends and family that do art, then we will certainly be happy to receive that if you don't do art yourself. Finally, I just believe it's buys then, Tom.
Dada buys.
Yeah, it's the final part. It's part 4. I'm quite sad and quite happy in the same.
What about Zoe Zenda?
Zoazenda. Zoazenda. Say bye.
Say bye-bye.
Bye.
Say bye-bye.
Bye.